Today, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the things that I've learned from Jungian psychology that I hope will spark your interest and get you thinking about your own psyche. On the screen is a list of the books that I've read. Most of them are by Carl Jung, but many of them are by Marie-Louise von Franz, who is sort of his protege slash mentee and a very accomplished woman in her own right. She became a psychoanalyst under his tutelage, and she makes a lot of the difficult concepts that he brings forward understandable and accessible to the layperson. So she's very much worth reading. Let's get started. So when you get into Jungian psychology, you're going to learn about a few things. One of them is the Animus and the Anima, spelled A-N-I-M-U-S and A-N-I-M-A. And these are concepts that frankly changed my life, so hopefully you get something out of it. The Animus is the masculine in a woman's psyche, and the Anima is the feminine in a man's psyche. The masculine in a woman allows her to think, to have independence of thought, to undertake professional or entrepreneurial endeavor, to accomplish things in the world. And the Anima for a man allows him to be truly loving, generous, kind, giving of himself, and also creative and in touch with his feelings. If a woman has an integrated Animus, she is more balanced as a woman, and if a man has an integrated Anima, he is more balanced as a man. The problem is that most of us, A, don't fully recognize that we have that potentiality within us, and B, that it must be integrated. So Jung posits that whatever is not made conscious will be acted out in your life until it is made conscious, and you're going to call it fate. So when something remains unconscious, it starts to manifest in ways that we cannot really control. For example, a woman who has no channel for her Animus will hold opinionated views and be controlling towards those around her, often her kids or romantic partners, because her Animus is being manifested in ways that are not conscious to her. But if she starts to undertake some personal project or work, which is one way to integrate your masculinity if you're a woman, ironically, she will become less opinionated and more feminine. When a man doesn't integrate his Anima by making it conscious, it remains unconscious, and it makes him prone to irrational moods and makes him oddly feminine, as his Anima is being manifested in ways he's not aware of. So on the outside, he's increasingly rigid and uncreative, but on the inside, he holds these wild fantasies, often sexual. These are not bad things, these are very normal things, but by integrating his feminine, a man ironically becomes more masculine. So all this is called the development of personality, and it allows you to become more whole and complete as a person. So we're going to go through some examples. If you meet somebody and you feel obsessively drawn to them, almost like this pull that you just cannot break, what this means is that your psyche is signaling that there's a lot of psychic energy that needs to be integrated. Your brain has identified in this person a trait or projected onto them something that really belongs to you. But you think that they have what you want, and so you pursue them relentlessly or think about them obsessively. This is extremely common, and we often think that this is falling in love. We equate this obsession with being in love, when in reality, we're in love with the illusion or the projection. If you look at tribesmen, people who still live in nature, their consciousness is not developed enough to differentiate the way the average modern person does. So their projections reach as far as trees and animals, where they think those are inhabited by spirits. But the average person living in like a modern city no longer has those projections because we've expanded our consciousness enough to recognize reality from projection, but we have a long way to go. And a lot of people think that they know themselves, especially modern people think they know themselves. But Jung, alongside Freud, suggests that we don't know ourselves until we've started dialoguing with our unconscious. Your consciousness can only see the tip of the iceberg, and your ego, which is part of your consciousness, only contains a very small part of who you are. The unconscious, on the other hand, is a vast ocean of undifferentiated images, energies, archetypes, emotions, and life forces. And your unconscious reveals to you the bottom of the iceberg. We get access to the unconscious every night when we dream. In one of the books that I read, it details the story of a middle-aged woman. She never got married and never had kids. She took in a young man, he was probably like 20 years old, and he lived with her. And her maternal energies, which she had never had an outlet for, were directed towards him. She took him into her home and provided for him. But this young man was a bit of a thug, so he would steal her money, bring girls over, and at some point he started poisoning her food. And the middle-aged woman who sheltered this crook was talking to psychoanalyst Marie-Louise von Franz about her troubles with this man. Marie-Louise, tells her the crook is in you. She tells her the crook is in you. It's not about this young man, that the crook is within her. So the idea is whatever you've accepted in your own life as a reality on the outside is in fact a reality that's already inside of you. If she didn't have a crook within her, she wouldn't accept or accommodate a crook on the outside. As within, so without. So when I read all this, I understood in my own life that the reason I kept going from one negative relationship to another is because I still hadn't made conscious an unconscious process. So depending on the relationship that you have or had with your parents, you can have a negative or positive animus or anima. So for a daughter, the greatest influence would be her father. For a son, the greatest influence would be his mother. And personally, in my own life, I had a negative animus. So an inner voice that was constantly critical. And I learned that one way to begin to integrate your anima or animus is through dream analysis. So I started remembering, noting down, and paying attention to my dreams. I noticed a general pattern in the dreams. Often I would be tormented by a man and emotionally tied to him, and I couldn't leave. Sometimes I was bound to him sexually. So there was always this pattern of being tied to them, but being helpless because you're not loved and you're being tormented. So I woke up and instantly I knew from all my reading that was my animus. That was the crook within me. And as soon as I understood that, everything changed, because when you shine a light on it, you start to recognize that's a voice within you, but it's not you. So suddenly I had more control. I had more say over my thoughts because, throughout the day, if a thought pops up, I can recognize where it comes from. I don't mistake it for being my own voice. So that's a way that you can stop being subject to these nagging negative voices. And I could take command of my own life that way. So this ability to differentiate all those forces within you is what happens when your consciousness expands and you're no longer just subject to fate. So that's my small summary of integrating my animus. Animus integration is not something you do once and you're done with. It's something that's continually in flux, that you're constantly doing, that you're constantly keeping in mind. Same for anima integration for men. And it all sort of unfolds when you start to pay attention to your unconscious, because it really shines a light on your unconscious. One almost like wants to help you by showing you things that you wouldn't be able to see. See, if you could see it in your life when you're awake, you wouldn't be dreaming it. By default, if it's unconscious, you don't know it, you see? So the dream is kind of like a secret informant, but unless you kind of pay attention to it, try to remember your dreams, note them down, and notice the patterns, you're not really going to be able to get all the value out of it. My mind was really blown from learning all this, and this is just like... Sorry, my audio got cut off. I was saying this is just a tiny fraction of all that I learned from reading Jung, because essentially, like, what he's done in his work is he's made the case for the unification of world religions. He talks about shadow integration, archetypes, the self. In a way, you could say he even makes the case for men being made in the image of God. And so there's so much to say about it. And yeah, if you have any thoughts, leave them in the comments. I would love to know.